This meeting is being recorded.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with Taylor from Life Goal Investments. How you doing, buddy?
You dressed up for me today. I appreciate that.
I did. Well, kind of. I got a T-shirt on underneath.
Cash flow. Hey, listen, that T-shirt should be blasted on everything you wear.
Yeah, I think I'm going to start wearing it more often. It's kind of nice. I like it. It's also, do you remember the album this is inspired by?
I think that's like an NWA, Public Enemy.
Yeah, NWA. Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. So
That's a little bit before my time, but nonetheless, I am a old school hip hop fan.
yeah, no, that was the stuff I was pumping in my car. Big old 12-inch speakers. Yeah, I was that kid. Loud.
Dre, Eazy-E, Ice Cube. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm there
If it had bass, I played it. That was kind of
love it.
Anyways, that was a weird left turn. Anyways, I wanted to talk about last week, right? You have 10 years on Wall Street. You provide a very unique perspective to my audience. So last week, CPI headline came in low. Core was sticky at 6. We got a Fed decision. Everybody and the brother called 50. I think generally speaking, they were more hawkish. Terminal rates now 5.1. You know, I don't know, low growth, 0.5%. And then I actually think the sneaky report was Thursday with retail sales coming in a whopping -6. So what'd you think last week of all that stuff?
Wasn't surprised by one bit of it.
Yeah.
Not one bit of it. I hate to say it, and I don't have a crystal ball, but like literally our conversations the entire year have been saying exactly how this is going to play out, right? And I'm not saying just me. You've been on the same train that I have. And so at the end of the day, like the Fed has repeatedly told us they are going to stave off inflation at all costs, regardless of what happens to the economy. And now we're seeing the results of it. Look at the consumer. The consumer was the strength throughout this whole post-pandemic period. But you're starting to see the consumer not have that $2.5 trillion of excess cash. Now it's estimated it's down to about $1 trillion. And people are starting to say, okay, inflation's still pretty rampant at this point, although it's coming in a little. And I don't necessarily know if the economy is moving in the right direction. Should I be so frivolous with my spending? And so, I mean, at the end of the day, none of this is shocking to me. It was a little bit surprising, I guess, that you got a relatively significant tick up in Fed funds rate, because I don't think terminal Fed funds rate, because I don't think the data has changed. I don't think they've gotten any new data that's caused them to say, okay, now higher. I am moving more so into the camp, and you're going to shoot me for saying this, of the Jeremy Siegel type camp.
Oh, no!
Yep.
All you Wall Street guys are the same.
The data's there. Inflation is coming off. Inflation is coming off. And
all right, so let's play this out. I got to play this out. So again, if you don't know Jeremy Siegel, I've picked on him a bunch in my daily financial news. He is currently talking about the Fed is done. They will not raise rates anymore. So nothing.
By the way, I'm not saying that. I am not saying that, but I'm saying that I don't disagree with him.
So you're saying inflation is over?
I think inflation's over. Yep.
Okay. The other thing that Jeremy Siegel is big on is he's saying the Fed will cut rate by June.
I'm not saying that.
Okay. Oh, thank God.
I'm not saying that. No, I think it's crazy to cut rates before it's clearly evident that inflation is behind us, and not just inflation's behind us, but it is precipitating down.
It's dead. It's dead.
Yep. It's dead.
Yeah, we can't have this 1970s double, go look at the charts. It was as they cut too early and it came back worse.
Well, also it is important to notice to say this, because this is counter to my point, is that in the 70s, inflation jumped around year to year, up and down. And some of it was a response to what the Fed was doing, but some of it wasn't.
Yeah,
but I also think there's a lot that's changed technologically, and now I'm like Kathy Wood soapbox.
Oh, jeez.
I do think there's things that have changed technologically.
Oh my God. No, Jeremy Siegel and Kathy Wood in the same interview, right? You're gonna give me a heart attack. So let's play this out. So I had to address it this morning in my daily show, because I have probably more than half my audience saying the Fed's going to cut rates by the summer. It's not my belief. I don't think we get a cut at all. I also don't think we go to 5.1, right? So I think we're within 50, maybe 75 basis points of the peak, right? I think 50.
To be clear, you're not that far off from what I'm saying then.
No, I agree. But let's at least address the elephant in the room. In order for the Fed to cut rates in June or by June, I think 4 things need to happen. 1, unemployment has to spike to north of 5%. It's at 3.7. So that would be 1.2 million, 1.3 million people.
Yeah, let
more
me
people
let me just
unemployed.
let me make sure I'm understanding. You said in order for the Fed to stop, or in order for the Fed to cut?
Cut.
Okay, gotcha.
Cut. So unemployment spikes to north of 5%. And oh, by the way, you can look at the weekly jobless claims on Thursday. That has to average north of 325. This is stuff you can look at every week. So that's number 1. Number 2, GDP has to be negative Q1, Q2 greater than 2%, like 2.5, not shallow 0.9, 0.7, really negative. 3, headline CPI has to be 4%. And then finally, a distant 4th, the stock market has to be down 25% from here. If all 4 of those things happen, maybe we get a Fed cut. What do you think?
25% from here. I think that has almost no bearing, and they at least like to say it has no bearing. You and I agree that it has some bearing. Don't get me wrong.
I think it's like if the first 3 don't happen and it falls 25%, they don't care.
I'm on board with the first 3.
Cool.
I'm on board with the first 3. I don't. Your precision in numbers is good because it gives something to look at. I don't know about the precision of negative 2% GDP, but I do think that they need to see meaningfully negative GDP, and that's not negative 0.6 to your point there. I do think that you need to see a meaningful tick up on unemployment. Basically, what you're saying is you need to see some pain in order for them to cut. That's totally makes sense. If things
and inflation has to be dead, right? Again, right? When you talk inflation, there's CPI, PPI, PCE, PCE Corp. CPI headline is like the biggest number. Yep. So if we have the biggest number at 4, it means all the other numbers are lower.
Yep.
So
I do think on the dovish side of the Fed, I do think they've made it more and more apparent that they're very aware, and they're not stupid. So no one was ever assuming they weren't aware of this, but they're making it very apparent that they're aware that there is a lag effect on things like rent and home prices. That is coming and is coming with a meaningful wave. Meaning that effect will be taken hold and it will be serious. So I think that's kind of a dovish thing that's going a little bit underappreciated there. But yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. I don't think we get a cut. I do think we get a cut next year. I think we get a cut at the very end of next year because
you're Q4, not Q2.
Yeah, exactly right. I think that later on in 2023, what you're going to have is, and to be clear here, some of this is historical data kind of moving forward too. The Fed averages their first cut 8.5 months after their last hike. So I do think that the last hike comes here early in 2023. To my point before, I don't think they will rate hike again in early 2023, almost no doubt.
Yeah, February 1st, they're going to give us a quarter. I think a quarter.
Correct. I totally agree with that. I don't think it's necessary. And I will say that on the fact that I think that inflation's dead. It is very, very weird. And there's a lot of overarching things that go into this that we can't get unemployment to move. So that's certainly in your camp, not in my camp. But I think that the inflation data that's coming through is bleeding things lower in general from an input cost perspective, from a supply chain perspective.
I got to tell you, I still think Wall Street, and I'm lumping you in with Wall Street now.
Yeah, that's fine.
You guys are still looking at inflation of stuff. That's like 32% of CPI. The rest
but the
is
housing and shelter is coming.
Housing.
The housing and shelter is undoubtedly coming.
It won't show up until Q3. It won't be.
But it's not going up. It's not going up.
Well, that's not true. Well, again, unless they change how they look at the numbers, rent will go up for the next 2 or 3 months. It's such a lagging indication.
That's fair. To say that short-term period of time it will go up. That I'm fine with that. I think for the absolute bulk of the year, and it will be very. You're going to see
when it turns, it'll turn fast. Agreed.
And you're going to see it disinflate very quickly, very, very quickly.
Yeah, I go back to inflation, dude. There's the easy stuff, which everybody from Kathy Wood on is enamored with. Then there's the hard, which is housing, which will come, but it will come later than people think. And then there's the bugaboo of wages and services.
It's just there's too many anecdotes right now And there's too many anecdotes to me of CEOs saying, I'm not hiring anymore,
Oh yeah.
or I'm cutting, or I'm laying off. And I think it's
Mhm.
more of the I'm not hiring anymore that is the one that you can't see yet, because they're not
Yeah.
adding new jobs. And you can argue on the other side of the coin that, hey, these are CEOs, whatever, 90% of America is employed by people in small businesses that are less than whatever that number is. You probably know it better than I do. But you could say that those aren't the people we're hearing from, and those are the people that are struggling to find workers. And that's a fair assessment, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be really. So I think layoffs go up. Like when there's this layoff tracker, layoff.com or whatever it is, I think all of that goes up. I think January is a bloodbath. Again, very much white collar, tech, finances, right? Goldman Sachs, 8%, it was reported. I
Yep.
mean, the best of the best, right? They're going to start whacking, and if they're doing, others will follow. But I think, to your point, the people that do get laid off, they will find other employment, because I think it's been an arms race. The people with the biggest checkbook overpaid,
It certainly
and
has.
now they have too many people, and that just
certainly
means
has.
there's this whole middle, right? Instead of making 350 OTE at Facebook, you're going to make 225 at Joe Blow software company.
Right, but what does that do to labor costs?
Well, it doesn't change unemployment. It certainly makes you spend less. It hurts the
Right.
consumer, but
Thus inflation.
yeah, well, yeah, certainly consumer driven, yeah. But I just don't think I think the job market's going to be sneaky strong the whole year.
I think we're at this inflection point, and you can see it in the market too. The market is generally a pretty good forecaster, and the market is now saying inflation's not the issue, recession's the issue.
You just hit topic number 2. We will go to that next. Taylor, where can people find you? Yeah, let's go to that next.
Shut your mouth. Yeah, no, appreciate it. Yeah, find us at Life Goal Investments on Instagram. That's the best place to follow us. We put out daily short content there to help people understand what's going on in the economy and markets.
And I have to say, of all the stuff that I follow, you guys do it at a level that everybody can understand. It's definitely a great follow. So Life Goal Investments on IG. Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate you, Michael.